Provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised on January the 4th, 2018. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the Municipal Public Bulletin Board and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk, or in the public in time and place according to provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. And welcome everyone. It's great to see you here tonight. Tonight, first on the agenda is presentation to Mustang Works of Art Club members. First, I'd like to thank Council President Blumenstock for bringing forward this information about this great organization. The Mustang Works of Art Club is comprised of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students at Lincoln School and ran by club advisor Mrs. Carol Del Conte. The club meets once a week to work on arts and crafts projects that are to be shared with members of the community. For the Christmas holiday, the students made yarn ornaments and lighted up Rudolph the reindeer crafts that were distributed to the seniors in the Garwood Senior Club. They also created Valentine crafts and cards for the seniors, as well as Valentine paintings for the Lincoln School teachers. By creating these crafts, the students are learning just how rewarding it is to open up their hearts and put a smile on someone's face. We are all proud and honored to honor these students tonight. Mrs. Del Conte.
We don't have all our members here, but most of them have come tonight.
And the certificate reads as follows. Office of the Mayor, Certificate of Award. They're all individualized for each of the students. The Mustang Works of Art Club. Thank you for creating beautiful arts and crafts that were distributed to our senior club in Garwood. The seniors were so happy and grateful. The paintings of Lincoln School and teachers were appreciated. This demonstrates your creativity and willingness to reach out to the members of the community. Wishing you all well in your future endeavors. Thank you. Charles and Bartle, Mayor of Garwood.
First, it was Tony Shaw.
Yay, Tony.
Okay, William Ficarra. Nyla Castro. Juliana Velage. Okay, Sammy Vandergraaf. Brian Ram. Brianna Ludek. Kennedy Hartenstein. Allison Gilbride. Kenny Cruz. Noemi Torres. Isabella Lynn. Okay, Sophia Kukaro. Sophia Cruz. Melania Aguirre. Delilah Gianfrio. Ivy Alade. Okay. Mitchell Godell. And Olivia Castro. Thank you very much for coming, and if you would like to come here and have a group picture with the mayor, you may. Come on back. Okay. Everybody's got to get real close, real close. Somebody might have to kneel down. Good job. Yeah, very good. Kneel down. You be in the front. Come over here so everybody can see. Okay, here you go.
Let me get some eyes over here.
The major count here.
Thank you.
Okay, good job, guys.
We're not leaving. Okay.
Got it there?
Take care of Donna. See you. You too.
Was it yesterday, 26? Yeah, but it's not. It's February.
I'll take care of it. Town meeting.
Okay, maybe you may continue.
Okay, thank you. Now, we have people probably in the hallway. We can't miss Bruce. Oh, he's here. I kidded him about his sideburns.
There you go. Ready to let the climb over?
Yeah. I'm gonna bring those when I was in school.
Okay. All settled in now? Mr. Ron, do you have something for us this evening?
Sure, Mayor, thank you. Hartman Park is back on the agenda. I just want to report on that. I did take a look after the meeting at the statute that Mr. Neerstedt cited. And actually, I think I'm sure I've had this conversation with him in the past. I sort of forgot about it. He regards, there's a statute 4055D31 as requiring that the planning board basically review any capital expenditures that the municipality have. I don't agree with that. he's entitled to his opinion, I have mine, I've expressed it before.
Mhm.
The statute requires a referral where the expenditure affects the location, character, or extent of the project. I don't believe that this does that. Reading it more broadly would require that the planning board basically approve any capital expenditure in any existing facility, which I don't believe is the purpose of the statute. I think it's to require a planning board review. Like, for example, when we had the athletic field was constructed,
Mhm.
that went to the planning board. Even when we put up the lighted sign up front, for example, we went to the planning board. When we did a gazebo, we went to the planning board. If it's something new, it goes to the planning board, I believe, particularly if it has to do with land use. But I don't, it's my opinion that this doesn't apply. I don't think that's the, it certainly hasn't been practiced here. I don't think it's the practice in most municipalities. It may be someplace, but I don't believe there's any impediment to proceeding. Let's see. I've worked on a number of ordinances for the Laws and Licenses Committee. I think you're going to get a brief report about those later, and then next meeting we'll have a little bit more detail for you on what those proposed ordinance changes are. And then later tonight, after the public meeting, there won't be any action taken, but I did want to go over with the mayor and council some pending litigation with respect to tax appeals. So I'm proposing that we have an executive session to do that. It'll be entirely after the meeting, although you have to come back out and open and close the meeting. There won't be any action taken. It's basically just to update the governing body with respect to the status of the appeals.
Thank you.
That's about it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, members of council, do you have any questions of Mr. Renat? No. Hearing none. Ms. Ariella?
No report, Mayor.
Okay, any unfinished business for the mayor and council? Any new business? I have the mayor's report this evening. I reached out to the RVSA representative, Steve Reed, who has tentatively scheduled representation from RVSA to come to us on the March 27th council meeting to explain our 2018 increase. Our pre-registration has started for Garwood's annual town-wide yard sale. The sale will be held on Saturday, June 9th and Sunday, June 10th, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. No permits or fees are required, but participation must be registered to avoid payment of permits. Due to a major conflicting event in Garwood on Saturday, March 17th, I'll be moving Mayor's Wellness Campaign 3K Walk with the mayor to the following Saturday, March 27th, to start at noon at Borough Hall. Mayor's Saturday will still be held on Saturday, March 17th, beginning at 11 a.m. at Home Depot. That'll be our next place of the Mayor's Saturday. First, I would like to thank the local resident for inquiring about placing a manger on town property. The borough currently has two iconic and significant symbols displayed in December, which play a major part in celebrating our winter holiday season: a Christmas tree and a menorah. Nationally, these are the most frequently used symbols to celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah, and often they are considered secular holiday symbols more than religious symbols. Menorah is a symbol of hope, recounting the miracle of one day of oil lasting for 8 days, and the Christmas tree is evergreen, reminding us after the hardship of winter, spring will bring new life to us. Although many may argue that the menorah is prominently the Jewish faith and is not the same as displaying the Torah or the Star of David, which would be similar to displaying a Christmas manger scene, as they are deeply religious in nature. Our country's highest court has provided guidelines for public decorations and observance that mark the holiday season, keeping the proper separation in state. The United States Supreme Court has filled a three-pronged test as to whether any government action, including the act of decorating for the holiday, violates the Establishment Clause of the Constitution. This act must be a secular purpose. It is primarily effective most not either advance or inhibit religion, or it must not result in excessive government entanglement with religion. As such, a manger scene, is one of the most powerful religious symbols of Christmas in the Christian world, and would appear to advance the promotion of Christianity as it celebrates one of its most important events in the Christian calendar. I believe if we install a manger scene, we would be overstepping our bounds of keeping the proper separation between church and state by promoting the Christian religion on borough property. Manger scene can be found at any one of the local churches during the Christmas season, and any other resident could feel free to visit them as they need. That's all. Thank you. Any comments and matters for discussion from members of council? Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. I was speaking to the Public Works Superintendent today, and he had responded to a resident email complaining about the rec center that the resident lives directly next to it, and there's apparently the balls keep hitting the house and going into the yard at different points, and so the resident inquired as to if there was anything that could be done. The superintendent did go down to investigate and did come to the conclusion, which seems logical, that there is just a need for some netting. And so I actually wanted to ask if I could refer this issue over to the Rec Commission. Councilman Lazzaro, if you could talk with them about possibly getting some estimates for some netting over in that area.
Yep, we're hoping to have a meeting come next Monday. Still, the dates are being pinned down, but it's definitely going to be early next week, I think.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right. That's up to you.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kukrow.
I don't have anything written, but I want to, I don't agree with your whole statement about the manger. What if somebody donated the manger to the town?
Well, as I said, I don't think it would be appropriate to put a manger on our property.
Well, I'll have to tell the 25 people that want to know what happened to the other one. I don't believe in separation of church and state. I believe freedom of religion as opposed to freedom from religion. That's my firm belief in that.
Thank you. Anything else? Councilman Lazzaro?
Thank you. Just a few items. So the Girl Scouts sent an email to propose a few ideas, which everyone I think on council has a picture of it. So they're proposing wanting to build birdhouses, a buddy bench, and a wishing well. So the wishing well looks like it's the one in the front, which basically, they take tires and they kind of turn it into this nice little decorative experience. And then the buddy bench is supposed to sort of serve as this, idea where someone who maybe needs a friend, that they can sit down next to that person, just create a little bit more friendly environment. And then the bird houses would not actually have bird food in them. It would just be a place for the birds, and they would be responsible for maintaining these items. So I just wanted to bring that up for discussion. Any concerns, thoughts? I did mention that we did share this amongst the Buildings and Grounds Committee earlier. We just thought as a committee that we would bring this up to the full council if there is general sentiment of support or if there is any kind of concerns that we should be aware of.
I have a few thoughts. The first one is this is fantastic. I mean, even to see the youth getting so involved in our community as they were presented with the certificates by the mayor tonight, it's all great stuff. I'll share the one little concern I have with bird feeders because of the rat issue that has taken place. I know that it educated me that bird feeders can lead to causing rats to be on the property. They eat the seeds that fall. So I'm not so sure if that might be the best project to do, but I love
birdhouses though.
Birdhouse. Oh, okay.
There's no feed in there.
Oh, okay. Then I'm all for it. Birdhouses are
Yeah.
great.
We did go
That was
over
something
that.
that I also thought of too, which, because I remember you had
Okay.
mentioned that, but yeah, it's definitely
Okay.
a birdhouse.
I'm
So
more
it's
hyped
a-
about bird feeders than I ever thought I would be. So, okay, birdhouses are awesome. And then the last comment I have, the buddy corner bench that I see in the picture here is wonderful. I know this is something that an educator over at Lincoln School a few years ago approached the Education Foundation for a grant, and we were able to award that, and to my knowledge, it's been very successful at Lincoln School. So then, for them to be able to apply that same principle to the park across the way, I think is, fantastic. So I'm all for it.
And if I could just add the tire flower pot wishing well and the buddy corner bench, as well as some of the birdhouses. They did ask for that to be in Hartman Park. I don't know if that was him. So those would be, and the birdhouses, by the way, would be attached around the tree. So they wouldn't be sort of sticks into the ground or anything like that, but they put them on the trees. So, and as Councilman Lazarus said, they did say that they will take charge of maintaining all of these items for us.
I have a question. Were they gonna be building this for themselves?
Yes.
It's a part of one of their bronze awards that they have to, their badges, that they have to do different projects for the community, and they decided on a couple of these that they had seen and felt they would be nice additions to the park.
So they're making it, it's like an age-restricted park. This is all children's things, correct?
Well, it's flowers, it's a nice decorative
Decorative.
thing. I don't know if that's children's.
Technically anyone can sit on the buddy bench.
What if we happen to use a buddy bench?
Obviously this is a picture of the buddy bench, so.
Well, I can't visualize how big it is.
I can't visualize it either, but I guess feasibly.
They're
probably-
regular sized
I think
benches.
they're regular sized benches. I don't think they're actually, so feasibly anyone could sit next to it, so I don't think it's age restrictive for that. I think though, obviously anyone can enjoy the wells and the birdhouses, of course, unless you're not a fan of that, so.
Okay.
I have a question
Yeah,
to,
sure.
sorry for my voice, but will that be maintained by the DPW or will the Girl Scouts maintain that through the course of its life?
Yeah, they, in the email that they said that they would maintain it, they'd be responsible for it.
And within the park, we have room set up that this would be a company to have its own room within the park that we're proposing in Harmon Park, the new development?
I think that they would probably work around us, so we already have the plans, which I'll get to in the buildings and grounds reports, but they're gonna probably have to obviously work around what space is there, and I think they're motivated, so. Any other questions about that? Because I have a couple more items, sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, so, second item is about the batting cages that I brought up last time. So, there's a little bit of a clarification. So, the borough would need to actually own the batting cage, but the baseball league would donate the cost for purchase and implementation of the batting cage. So basically, last time, I think when we discussed this, they were going to be owning and responsible for it, but they don't have actually the insurance to be able to cover that. So basically, I talked to Tina about this, and basically, we would basically need to own it if we wanted to pursue it. Okay, there's no additional cost for that, us personally, to obviously own it. Obviously, it would be the man hours, I guess, to maintain it, our DPW workers, to make sure that they, put away the actual netting that goes over the batting cage. But I still am in favor of it. I think it still enhances the overall quality of the rec center and the amenities nearby, that it will attract more baseball leagues. So I just wanted to put that out there for everybody to see what their thoughts are with this new information.
So the residents will be paying for the insurance on this?
We already pay for insurance on the
On the
park,
batting cage, on the
so
park,
it's not increasing the insurance.
All right.
So it's just because it's our land, it's it's borough responsibility technically. So as a result, they don't have their own insurance to insure
Right.
just that space. So we
So our
have to-
insurance premium will not go up because of that?
As of right now, it's what I've been informed.
Maybe we can get a quote by then, by the time you.
I already spoke to the insurance company.
It will not go up?
There will be increase in premium for batting cage. I already checked everything with the insurance company. That's why I know that we can't let them just put it in.
this was my original concern from when we were in rain that day, so discussing this. So I don't have an issue with it. I'm glad it's clarified. I'm glad it went to our office. That was my original concern of what happens with the insurance. You answered it. I'm fine with it. Let's go.
The only thing that I would suggest that we check with, and I guess the borough administrator would have to do it, is just check with Green Acres and make sure that we don't need any approval from them, because they're fussy about when you have something that they've financed and then you change it. I don't know that a batting cage is going to bother Green Acres. I think it would be prudent just to check.
Okay, if the council supports it, I'm for it. This is something that technically the borough could have paid for and put in, as I'm sure other parks do and other towns do in their parks rather. But the Baseball League is donating this. I think that's great. I want to say a big thank you to them. And if it's okay by Green Acres, I'm all for just giving them the approval rather than waiting until the next council meeting.
Shouldn't we be maintaining it though? Shouldn't the rec department be maintaining it?
So by, maintaining it basically means like the netting has to be put away.
Like you said, the DPW was going to be doing that.
I guess it could be. I'm not sure exactly who it would fall under technically.
Tina?
But it's ours.
It's ours,
So
so
it's
it's our
whether it's-
responsibility, but I don't doubt that people that want to use it during the season, because, you know, it's a seasonal thing, won't work it out with everybody and say, okay, we're going to use it today, we're going to take, I mean, I can't speak for people, but the people who play in the league are very, responsive, so I think Clint can probably work the schedule out with him, Lenny and Clint, like, Monday and Friday, leave it up, I don't know, whatever you guys do with batting things, I don't know.
I assume it must be up for the season.
Yeah,
And
but-
at the beginning and the end, that
Yeah,
they
it
don't
seemed
think
like
about taking it
Well, it's just a
down.
concern because I know the soccer field wasn't maintained. I mean, it was a mess a lot of the time. So, I mean, I just don't want to see it come down to that, where there's something put in there that's new, and then nobody ever takes care of it. I mean, you've seen the
Well,
soccer
I do
field.
think that there is motivation because they're actually laying out the money, that they're going to want to obviously make sure that they work with us in maintaining that. So I think because they're putting skin in the game, I think we can definitely make sure that whether it be through the DPW or whether it be through the rec commission, we can certainly make sure that that happens.
And also too, this topic has been around for over a year, so I think definitely they have a commitment to go forward with it, and they will supply, and I have to vote, I will support it 100%.
May I ask what the accessibility of this is? How would kids get into this batting cage? Would there have to be some type of supervision there all the time, or is this open 12 hours a day to children at their free will?
It's the same as technically the park, right? So, if a group of kids wanted to play on a baseball field in the rec complex, they can use that. They don't have a specific supervision policy for that too. So the same concept would happen with the batting cage. If someone wanted to practice batting in the batting cage, the benefit is that they don't have to grab the ball. They can really practice on their swing. That's the whole perk of the batting cage.
And in this batting cage, how is the ball being thrown towards the bat? How is that happening?
A pitcher with
Yeah, how is that? A machine there?
No, there's no machine.
So it's another child or so pitching the ball?
Yeah, there's no machine. It's not like a.
Just asking these
Yeah, no, I
questions as a
agree.
parent, so
Yeah.
there will be a mandatory sign that the children will have to have a helmet on as they enter this batting cage, so on and so forth.
I think that's a law.
Okay.
That sign has to go on there.
Okay, thank you.
Are they going to bring in the pitcher guard too? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I can ask about
That's
that.
because that's key. That goes right to Rich's point. You got a comebacker, game over. So I think that's something important. As long as we get clarification on that, I don't think it's a big problem. And obviously, our signage is in order. That makes sense
I'm
too.
in favor of this whole team, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's a fair concern.
No, I'm definitely. Listen, we can decrease our liability. I'm all in favor of that. So.
And any signage you probably can get through the county,
Okay.
okay? And it's just a matter of material costs, there's no labor costs involved. If we properly design what we want to see.
And then just one item, really, it's kind of for you, Mayor, just for the public's benefit. Any thoughts on, appointments for the recreation
committee?
I will be appointing someone tonight, and that would be our main topic with the Jack Sullivan, whatever, the president or whatever he's called. I apologize, I don't know.
Okay, thank you guys. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Sarno?
Councilman McCormick first.
Yeah.
Well, he can't talk, so it's okay.
Yes, I can.
I apologize. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask you, Mayor, to repeat what the menorah means in your reading.
The menorah is a symbol of hope, recounting the miracle of one day of oil lasting for 8 days.
And can I ask where you received that from?
If I may be so bold to say, you can Google anything.
Okay,
I'm being sincere.
if you look at Google, like we all do, we all use Google, it depends on what part of Google you are looking to in
Understandable.
the menorah. If you look at the menorah, what part of Google, the center light of the menorah represents God. So I was wondering why God's not there and just hope is there. So that's why I'm asking the question. I'm not here to start an argument or a debate.
Like I
But
said, I took it right
I'm
off.
just finding a little difference in the religious belief of menorah and a manger, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, sir?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Councilman Sarno?
The only thing I'd like to just bring up to the council's attention is I'd like to, in an effort to maybe reduce our costs in terms of insurance, what I'd like to do is have our council direct the borough administrator to obtain claims data or claims experience from the state health benefits plan. What that does is it gives us the opportunity to forward that to a potential competitor, okay? And then you have the opportunity to compare the two, and then at that point, we can make a choice if we want to change insurance, obviously to reduce costs and to keep in line with our labor agreements that are currently in place.
Are you talking about health insurance?
Yes, I am. This is something with a little research, and it would have to be in an unofficial letterhead, and that's something that could come from her or her office. Any concerns, questions?
I know a few insurance brokers in the past have approached me about the same thing, and it was a few years ago, so I spoke to Ms. Ariema about it, but Ms. Ariema, do you have any thoughts on this at this time? I mean, it's...
All I know is they took away the $2,000 fee, so, and the only other concern that I have is, I think if you could, reduce the cost of healthcare while providing the same, equal to or better, that's amazing. I just get scared that the first year they would come in low, and then it would creep up, and you can't go back to the state health benefits once you leave. And you have to remember, we pay a percentage of premium, so not only would that impact the taxpayers, but it would really hurt the employees if they came in really low the first year, got us out of the state health benefits, and then jacked up the costs. That would put us in a really
I say we get to that point, then we can have that
Yeah,
debate.
maybe if there was a way, like, we could somehow lock in, say, give you a rate and then lock in for
That's
so many
something we
years,
could
like
discuss at that
percentage
point.
increases or something.
I don't think they lock in for X amount of years,
Yeah,
though.
it's kind of scary, it's a little bit scary
Well,
for
maybe if
for
we look
us,
at other,
but
if we look at other
I
towns
don't
and
think
see.
there's any harm in
Right,
finding
well,
out.
agree, so
Yep.
I'm okay with investigating it, sure. In the meantime, too, we can look up other towns and see their experiences, because I want to say it was Springfield. that did
Scotch
it.
Plains.
Scotch Plains?
Yes, just,
Yeah. Did it recently?
yeah. And they definitely reduced their cost.
Okay.
So that's,
Do you know if it was Springfield too, by any chance, or no?
It could be. I think they may have done it a couple
Check.
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not, the most recent though was Scotch Plains. In
Okay,
this area.
so might be good to see some that have been in it for some years now, to
Right,
see
and,
if it's skyrocketing.
And I think you're seeing more and more towns kind of branching out a little bit from the state health benefits plan. You'll talk to many people, it wasn't the same as it was 20 years ago, whereas the end-all be-all. Yeah, but being a small town, we have our challenges compared to a Scotch Plains and Springfield. But I just still think it's worthwhile to go ahead and get to that point, and then we can have a fruitful debate at that point. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yes, especially if we have the history, if we can go back X amount of years to check the other towns out and see what their increase in rates were. That will give us an idea of how they operate.
Over the budget data. I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Can I make a comment on that? Christina brought up a point that once we leave the state, healthcare may be hard to get back in.
You can't
and
get back
it's-
in. You never can go back
Okay,
in.
you may not get back in.
No, never.
Never
Sure,
get
it's a
back
never, I
in.
thought it was a number of years they
I
disqualified
don't
you
think
from.
so. I've heard it's, you can never go back in.
Yeah?
But with that said, if we can save monies for the borough, it's very interesting to look into something like this. And the reason why I bring this up is every time we put something out for contract to get something done in the town, strike me if I'm wrong, but for some reason, we always pick the lowest bidder. So are we not, okay, we're obligated.
In certain instances.
So would it be not beneficial to look into this a little more without saying, no, nobody said no, but I'm just looking.
I believe that was the consensus. that we
Yeah, everybody's
go forward.
agreeable to do it, to investigate what's going on, especially the
Then it's
history of
always a
the other
stopping
towns.
point.
That's not what I'm doing though. Everybody understand that. I'm getting a claims history so that you could get a quote from this other guy.
Right.
I'm not doing any of this investigating what the towns did. I don't have time.
What
for that.
committee does that belong
I
on?
don't know, but I don't have time
This
for
is
that.
something
I
that
mean,
derived
what's there?
from myself, and, we can have the further discussion
You'd
after
like
we
to
get the
do it.
claims data. You have other brokers you want to bring that to? Can't be a bad idea, sir.
Okay.
When, just keep in mind that, if you go to a broker, the broker is awarding a brokerage is what's called an EUS, an extraordinary unspecifiable service, so you have to, you can't just go out and pick a broker, but we'll deal with that. I'm not trying to throw up roadblocks. Just keep in mind, you can't make commitments to brokers because it's an
I
EUS.
thought you could market healthcare through a broker. I read that somewhere.
You can?
When did you
Could
hear?
not
I didn't think you could
market
because-
healthcare through a broker.
Meaning what?
I thought I read somewhere, and I need to go back and check a minute. Is it a broker or is it an insurance company?
Well, it's you can have a broker for health insurance, so if that's what the question,
you-
that's what your question is.
That's got to be bold, you need. Is it the same thing that you can't market it through a broker?
But most of the people
But my
are brokers.
concern is that if you go to let's do it one step at a time, get the claims information and market it.
Okay.
Right.
The problem is, if you go to a broker and then the broker does the work, it's gonna be awkward because we can't necessarily use that broker because you have to go through a process for the EUS. That's the difficulty.
You mean
Logistical-
for a quote, you
the
mean, Bob?
logistical problem, yes.
Well, but
In other words, you could go to, I'm trying to think of what a health, there's hardly any left.
Well,
But
does it matter?
you could go to a health insurance company and say, okay, here's our claims history, what would you do for us, what would you charge? But if you go to a broker, it's gonna be a little bit more challenging because of the fact that you have to have a process for an extraordinary, unspecifiable service. That's the only point.
But there's a lot of brokers out there for almost every type of small business, anything. So you're gonna have to either go to a broker, I mean, unless you're going to Allstate, president of Allstate or something, you're gonna go to a broker.
Well, as Mr. Milano said, let's go back to the basics and get the
Just
information.
don't assume that the person that you go to is gonna be the one who winds up with the business.
Right.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just getting the claims data, right?
Right, that's it.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Tedesco?
Thank you, Mayor. A number of items. One, a quick update on the volunteer reward card that I spoke about at the last meeting as well. We are now up to 9 Garwood businesses participating in the program. Look forward to getting these cards in the hands of our volunteers by this April. Another note, a few years ago, back in 2015, I encouraged a crossing guard appreciation breakfast to be held, and it was a nice event held at the end of the school year by then Chief of Police Bruce Underhill. I mentioned this at a police committee meeting while I was on the committee, and I just wanted to voice public support for this taking place again. Our crossing guards provide an important service to Garwood's children, and many think it falls under the jurisdiction of the school, but in fact it falls under that of our police department. And so to take it a step further, I also just want to express my thoughts to the council that maybe we should consider doing more staff appreciation events or something of that nature. As the saying goes, a little goes a long way, and I think we should come together as a council to support that. Another item I've got cut short. I'm glad the mayor reached out to the RVSA representative, as did I, to get them at our second meeting in March. That would be great to have the presentation from them. Also, it was very good to have the water company at our last meeting, but I think it might be worthwhile to ask them to come back at some point when they're in the middle or midst of the project, because at that point, they can make a presentation to us, keep us up to date, we can ask questions, and most importantly, the public can ask questions in that way too. Okay, moving down, 2 more items. In light of the recent tragedy in Parkland, Florida, I know a number of parents want to make sure Lincoln School is as safe as possible for their children, and every resident of Garwood wants the same. I'm confident that our police department and school administration have worked together on safety measures and procedures. A couple years ago, the council, in fact, was invited to watch an active shooter training session for our local police officers, which I and others attended. I am also aware that Superintendent Quigley emailed information on school security to parents recently, which is good. To add to that, however, I think this is very important that our community feels secure, and I would like to suggest a joint public meeting be held, led by perhaps our police chief, school superintendent, and mayor, to provide information and answer questions. And I know, of course, that for security purposes, all details would not be able to be provided, but I believe it would help provide reassurance to our community. And then lastly, something I'm moving from my finance report to workshop. So let me just get this straight here. So the Finance Committee has been working on the budget, as everyone knows, and it is important to our committee that we continue the practice of 2 special budget meetings to allow for ample time for feedback from the mayor and the rest of the council on the budget, as well as to provide the public with a chance to see the process in action and to voice their thoughts. Our Finance Committee has planned for the 2 special budget meetings to take place on Tuesday, March 6th and Tuesday, March 20th, both at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. So if we're agreeable to that, Ms. Ariema has a resolution deleted from the consent agenda that we can move later. So again, those dates were Tuesday, March 6th and Tuesday, March 20th at 7 p.m. here.
Does anyone have a problem with that?
Wonderful.
Do we need to?
Well, we discussed that in our committee, and we felt very comfortable with 2 because, as I'm sure you remember, the last couple of years, we have had 2, actually dating back to 2012 when I first became a finance chair, and we opened the process up from 1 meeting to 2, and for more transparency with the public, and also just for the council and the mayor to really get their hands in and involved in the budget. And both meetings are considerably long. They're not half-hour each, so I would say I would rather have 2 meetings, so that way it's not 1 4-hour meeting where we all know how we feel at hour 3 and 4. So
I think this can't hurt. I mean, like I said, it's our time, we're putting it out for the people in Garwood, so there's no negative as far as I'm concerned. If people come, they come. If they don't, they don't. At least we're putting it out there for everybody to participate.
So we'll have Ms. Ariema read the resolution and the agenda.
right, later
Okay.
on. And then I might as well just bring this up now too for my report, because it has to do with a meeting, but a less formal one. So as a committee, we were discussing the breaking down the budget town hall idea, which was launched for the first time last year. It was held at Lincoln School. But we decided to make some adjustments to that. Last year was the first go at it, but this year we thought about holding more of an informal type of session right here at Borough Hall. We're looking at the date of Thursday, March 15th, and we would do this as a finance committee. We ourselves will be providing light refreshments and ask residents to please join us, to come speak with us. We hope we can get their thoughts about how they're feeling about different issues and what should be prioritized, and also try our best to answer any questions they may have. And also, if we can't answer that night, at least we got the question and now we have the opportunity to get back to them. We thought this meeting would be in some ways similar to a Mayor's Saturday, that informal, have a cup of coffee, have some cookies, and talk about the budget. Sounds like fun to me anyway. So I just wanted to let the council know that that's something we would look to do. It would just be the finance committee and informal, but why not give it a try?
And we'll shove all the hard questions over to you.
No problem.
Jennifer takes some as well.
Okay. We can share with you either. No worries.
I just wanted to speak on a couple of things in support of the safety meeting. I think is a brilliantly really an idea. We certainly need this type of meeting to alleviate the anxiety of what's been going on nationally. So I definitely think that's a wonderful idea to get those parties, the mayor and the chief, to agree to a date for that. And also, I definitely agree about the Crossing Guard Appreciation Breakfast. I think the idea of showing how much we care about these people who, you know, obviously they're not, you know, getting compensated a whole lot for what they do, in the sense that, you know, maybe they can feel a sense of pride in what they do by us showing their appreciation by doing this breakfast. So I support it.
Yeah, I will spearhead that meeting with the chief, the superintendent, myself.
Great, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I was just going to voice my support for that. Obviously, as a parent with 2 kids in the school, it's a scary thing. And I have some questions too that, you know, I'd love to throw to the chief and the superintendent and find out a little bit more about, you know, the methods that they're taking. I do appreciate the superintendent reaching out to the parents, and maybe we can get a little bit deeper into it in a formal meeting.
That's all, thank you.
Thank you. On to public comment. Anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone. State your name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Al Del Conte, 545 Locust Avenue. I'd like to thank the Mayor and Council for your presentation this evening to the Mustang Works Park. That was very nice. Thank you for that. At our last council meeting, you had brought up maintenance at the turf field, at the athletic field complex. There was an issue about the repairing the torn turf, that wasn't part of that maintenance agreement with this company for $1,200 for each time they come out. If you could explain a little bit more about what they're doing when they come out?
I think they came out once in November. They were supposed to fix those seams, so you...
That,
Okay. So you're not
is that
saying-
part of that,
No,
or?
you're not saying that didn't happen, are you?
No, I'm just
Okay.
asking what
Okay.
a little more clarification on what they're doing when they come out.
Okay, so they came out then and they repaired the seams, and I guess they groom it, does that sound?
The grooming, yeah.
Okay. Now, we got, that was just like a, okay, so we got people that
I have the document.
play there, yes, what, that told us, you know, they had to come out. So they
Mhm.
came out, so that was that. So this is the maintenance, and when they come, they will do grooming, all seam repairs, cleaning of all debris and fibers. If infill rubber is needed, extra charge will be discussed prior. So they're gonna come twice and do that.
So the seams will be repaired.
April 1st to April 15th, and then between November 1st and November 15th,
Okay,
for $1,200.
so $1,200. How about relining of the field? I don't know if anybody has been down there to look at it and see how it is, but the lines that are on the field for soccer and field hockey are worn off. I believe they're like painted on. And the equipment, like the soccer nets and the field hockey boxes, I guess they're called. I don't think they're called nets. I think they're called boxes. I know at least one of the field hockey boxes is broken. The wheel keeps falling off it. So which could be a reason why the turf is getting maybe a little rip in it. Because field hockey is I have nothing against that. It's a girls' sport. So it needs the boxes, I mean, and they're little girls because it's a little field. You know, they're young girls, they're not high school girls. So these girls haven't gone to the gym yet for muscle tone. So I think moving their boxes, they need to be as easy as possible. I see also we are doing vegetation spraying in the brook. I'm just going to anticipate that being the first step towards our rat control. Is there pesticides in the making to be coming after that also on a regular basis?
It was going to be coming twice a year, wasn't that what everybody was agreed
No.
upon?
Did I answer?
Sorry.
So they're gonna spray the brook once, which is allegedly to kill the growth. It has nothing to do with rats. If it's supposed to be that if there's nothing with the brook, we can call the exterminator and they bait the brook. But our relationship with the Board of Health, Westville Regional Board of Health, is that they'll come on complaints and investigate and bait certain areas, but they don't just go and bait the whole brook. They never did. I don't know if they wanna find out.
That's what was told to me, that it was going to be sprayed twice a year.
This time it's only going to be sprayed once. I'm only assuming that I don't know why they changed it for once, but last year we did it too late. Stuff already grew. It's very hard to kill it.
I know, and I asked the question, and I think you told me it was going to be done in April and November.
It used to be done twice a year, not in November. November everything's dead already.
All right, well, it was
But-
twice a year.
Well, I'm trying to explain. It used to be twice a year, but the quote came in for once a year, so I can only assume that it's only required now or necessary once a year, because I never told them how many times to do their job, that's just the way they did it. So it has to come very early in the spring, so we can kill it before it grows. Once it starts to get going, it takes over, like that's what happened last year. So we're gonna spray it once, and that's what's on the agenda tonight. That's just to kill the growth of the plants, though, not.
The assumption is they're not going to eat.
Did we ever have someone come in and spray for the pesticide? years
No,
ago?
there's no such thing as spraying for rats. You gotta bait.
Well, bait, I should say
Yes,
spray.
yes,
I'm sorry.
yes. We don't. The regional, Westville Regional Board of Health does it. Through our regional Board of Health.
But they've only done it when there was a complaint, it's not a,
They do it like they get a complaint and they send out the inspector who will go to the person who's complaining, his house, look, confirm. And if it's in the brook, then they send the exterminator and he baits the brook in that vicinity. And yes, that happens all the time. And the problem, is still a problem. I mean, not just in the brook. We don't live on the brook, and I told you guys last summer we had a large rat problem in our yard, because we had a garden, not to say a farm. It's like a farm. My husband's not here, but it's like a farm, but yeah. So we had a big rat problem. But he, just like a farmer, killed them all.
The sources of food there.
Yeah.
They look for
Yeah.
food.
That was the first time I ever had that problem at my house, so. What do you do? You deal with it, I don't know.
So I guess I could bring that question up that Mr. Del Conte has at my next meeting, which is mid-March, with the Board of Health. And I think, I'm presuming, that if we do more baiting, the budget that the Board of Health has set forth for Garwood would probably increase.
It's already set for
That's
2018.
okay, so it's it. All right, so I will address that question.
But I don't know if they'll want to charge more monies if you said, we want to do the whole brook. Like, that might be something that is not included in our contract.
I would imagine.
The situation baiting, yes, they do that.
Okay, and the other question that Mr. Del Conte gave to the council, which is also a question I'm giving back to the council, is something I have no idea how it works. Mr. Del Conte is asking who is paying for the nets, the maintenance of this field. Is it the town and council's responsibility, or is this the profit from the rec center? How does this get paid? Where does this money come from? Is that part of your question, Mr. Del Conte?
No, but that's a.
Because I'm
I'll
curious
answer
to
that
where this
question.
money comes from
I'll
also.
answer that. It was brought up a couple of years ago. I was on that committee. We went down and inspected the goalposts. We saw that they were slightly inverted. Spoke to a kid, an older kid that was there. He said it's for people hanging on the goalpost. They brought that to council. I said that council shouldn't be paying for that, that the rec complex should. They're supposed to be self-maintaining. And it went back to the rec complex. To be honest with you, I thought they bought new goalposts. It was never brought up again.
Guess that'll be in the meeting that we're gonna have with the rec.
But to address part of Mr. Del Conte's
Yes.
question is, he's really asking about the tears in the field, and the tears from the field, from what he's asking, is because the post that the field hockey girls are using is missing a wheel. So that comes back to maintenance, which is becoming a large bill for the municipality. So I'm asking, how does that get paid for?
The real question is this a DPW item or is this a recreation item?
I'm asking this because I'm myself and the rest of the public.
Do we want to go further down this rabbit hole, or do we want to let Mr. Del Conte finish? Sorry, Rich.
No, it's fine.
Conti, would you like to finish, please?
Is there any news on a street sweeper or a bucket truck for the borough? I don't know, driving around the town, you know that I do kind of look around for things like that, and the curbs are in need of cleaning, spring cleaning. I had to visit a street sweeper once last year on the 500 block of Locust Avenue. As in the past, how some of the longtime residents of town know, we used to get a visit once a week from the street sweeper. Okay? Service no longer available because our street sweeper is down. Is it going to be repaired, or are we going to get another one? Same thing with the bucket truck. The guys are going around trimming trees from the ground. They don't have the access of a bucket truck. And they've started at the end of town at Hemlock, Hickory, and they're working their way down. I see they posted signs on Locust, so they've made it to there. But they're doing it all on foot. They're not doing it with a piece of equipment. So that, I'm imagining that takes a lot longer. And there was another item that I was thinking of, but perhaps I'll remember that in the second half of the meeting. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may. Thank you, Mr. Del Conte.
Do you want to finish public comment, or do you want to answer it? Just
Well,
It's a question.
I'd like to address it right.
In regard to what you're saying with the bucket truck and the street sweeper, right now, we, as we said, do not have a bucket truck. When we do need one, if there is an emergency or it is really in need, we are able to borrow Fanwood's bucket truck, and we have done so. The tree trimming that you were talking about is actually being done for the reason of street sweeping. I don't have a report on it tonight because we're not quite there, but I will have one shortly. We will be looking at adding to our shared service agreement with Fanwood in the use of their street sweeper. Once that all goes through their council, I can bring it back to you, but we are looking into it because, as you said, our street sweeper is out of commission at this point, but we will be taking care of the problem, and we will have some more frequent street sweeping. So right now, because their street sweeper is much bigger, they are trimming down the trees to help. They need to be trimmed anyway, but we're getting it started a little early so that come spring we can begin that street sweeping.
The street sweeper was supposed to be part of the original shared service agreement.
That was part of our shared service. If I can finish, the street sweeper itself is a part of our agreement because of the equipment. However, their street sweeper is much different than ours, and our current laborers are not able to drive that street sweeper, so we do have to use one of Fanwood's laborers, and so that is the additional amendment that we're negotiating with Fanwood at this moment. So they will be using their men coming into our town to do that.
And they didn't know that at the beginning of the shared service agreement?
We didn't have any use. We had a street sweeper at that point.
But it's been
This is now because our street sweeper is out of commission, and this will enhance the agreement.
And that agreement will be free. That will be no extra charge to us.
That's currently it's going through the council. They have discussed it. It's got to be put onto their agenda, and And when that happens, I will bring it to council.
I think we got a little bit gypped on the shared service agreement, because I think the street sweeper was one of the things that a lot of people in town really missed.
But as I said, the
not
equipment
your
is
fault,
different.
but
No, I'm just
saying-
saying the equipment, use of their equipment when they're not using it is part of our agreement. They use their street sweeper obviously very often. However, because we are in this shared service and we're working together, we are negotiating this extra amendment to the agreement. But again, our laborers can't use that particular piece of equipment, so we don't have any shared service with their labor. So that is where the new agreement comes in.
Thank you.
Okay.
So it's kind of a win-win, to be quite honest, yeah.
What? I'm sorry?
I think it's a win-win. Now that our street sweeper, we don't have to go out, unless we would want to go out and purchase a new street sweeper.
That's a whole different meeting.
Exactly, so close to the tune of $200,000. But to answer some of Mr. Del Conte's questions about the recreation complex and the field, as far as relining it goes, I know that the chair of the Recreation Commission, Jack Sullivan, was spearheading that in the past, so he would be the resource to go to about the best method, because I know there was talk about one way that was more expensive and another way that was less expensive. I believe we went with the less expensive route, and so that might be why it's reappearing now. But again, I think he'd be the one to talk to, and I think that's all I have. I just wanted to point that out.
As Council Mazzaro said before, is that we will be meeting him very soon. We have multiple questions and issues now.
And when you do your further research with Fanwood, I want to know a little bit more detail as to, all these guys on RFDW all possess a CDL and a commercial driver's license, and I don't understand why they can't drive their truck. Is this more like Clint doesn't want, our guy's driving his truck that belongs to Fanwood? You don't have to give it the answer now. You want it, you can. But I think it's like, why can't our guys get trained to do it?
Well, it's not that, I mean, if they're giving us if their men are coming over to do it, I'm not sure what the problem is, though. It doesn't really quite make sense. This is a much bigger piece of equipment. It's a much different piece of equipment from our street sweeper. A much more costly piece of equipment than our street sweeper. I think in order for us to also maintain the benefit of this, we want to keep it, this piece of equipment up to par. So if they're willing to have one of their laborers come over and do this, I certainly don't see a problem with that.
For free, I don't see a problem either.
Well, the only problem I see is the town of Fanwood having to free up one of their laborers to come to a neighboring borough, which happens to be Garwood. So that person would be taken away from doing his duties in that community, and now is doing the work in Garwood. So going back to what Mr. Sarno, Councilman Sarno was saying, is why can't or why shouldn't one of our DPW's workers be certified to use that street cleaner? Because many years ago, as this was sold to us with this deal, it was every piece of equipment, right down to a bucket truck, was like the icing of the cake. And this was how this whole deal was sold to us. So that's why I'm questioning what Mr. Sarno is questioning you on.
Isn't it to our benefit, though, to our benefit, Garwood's benefit, if we're using one of Fanwood's laborers and then all of our laborers are now available to do other things? Why are we wanting to put more onto ours if we're getting this for free?
On the receiving side, you are correct.
So isn't that for Fanwood to have to worry about?
If you look at their side, they are less reluctant to send somebody to help us.
What happened
This is,
I'm sorry.
this is public comment. This is not bad during the commitment with FAM at this point. I think that that will come forward in the near future. Once the budget process is complete, I'm going to ask the finance chair and the committee to review that in detail, and that's a double-edged sword on our behalf. We have the finance chair, and we also have the DPW chair on the same committee. I think they'll do a great job. No offense.
I don't think anybody was badgering anybody else. I think that
It's getting kind of... Anyone else? Mr. Patterson?
Let me do that. Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Councilman Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. The repair or the maintenance of the netting at the rec field, that's the rec field fees, right? You collect fees?
Yes.
And I know one year you captured about $40,000 of it back into the budget, so it sounds like that should be an easy answer there. So I don't know if anybody was questioning that. The sweeper, just a simple question. If the sweeper's in Fanwood and we're going to use it in Garwood, how does it get here? I guess they can drive it over the roads through Westfield? Yep. Okay. That's it. The Christmas tree, I'm happy to hear. I guess I don't have to call it a holiday tree anymore. I can call it a Christmas tree. Be politically correct. Is that what it's getting to? Because I know Mayor Hokinson over at Roselle Park. He started calling it a Christmas tree, and everybody got up in arms and that. So, but this religious artifacts and separation of church and state, to me, is getting a little out of hand again. I thought it died away, but I can call it a Christmas tree, I guess, but right, without any repercussions. I would talk about it. Thanks. The RVSA coming in on the 27th. I mean, and I brought this up last meeting. Make sure he brings the calculations for the last 5 years, and maybe the calculations for the other towns, so we can actually compare what the issues are. Because to us, I mean, we hardly built anything in the last 5 years, and yet, as we all know, especially the finance chair, I mean, the cost just jumped up astronomically. This year is what, 9%? Finance chair?
About $60,000.
Is that 9%?
But as we go secular, as we go down, we go up, someone goes down, and there's other communities in worse shape than we are. But as you indicated, 5 years seems to be the key number. It's a rolling average of 5 years. This year, a low number went out, a big number came into the formula.
See, that's what we heard the last presentation about how great it was
I
going to
was
be.
on that
and it went
commission
down
for
1 year.
14 years, and I heard the same thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had like 3 or 4 years of huge increases, and they promised us, said, well, a 5-year rolling average is going to drop down. Yes, indeed. Last year, it actually did drop down. This year, back up.
That's when they're coming forward to talk to us.
And that's why we need the calculations, to make sure, everything's on the up and up. And I've heard explanations about, and Mr. Renaud and the borough engineer, was talking about the meters upstream, downstream.
Well, there's 4 meters, Mr. Renaud, I believe?
I don't know the number.
Oh, there's at least 3 that I know of.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, this is serious enough to, wonder where all this money is, that we're paying. Oh, the safety meeting that you're planning to have?
Yeah.
It was a public safety meeting?
Oh, we haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, okay.
I assume it is, but.
Yeah, if there's a possibility, could you record it and actually put it on your website? That's what, for the public access. That may be a good idea. The there's possibly financial meetings on 3/6, 3/13, and 3/20 budget meetings. Is that what you're proposing?
315, not
Right, that's
313.
the sit down with the budget committee, and the council meetings are the 6th and the 20th.
All right. And then we have a council meeting on the 27th.
Yes, we're here all month.
Yeah, that's just nice. Oh, money's a big, it's a big subject.
I'm just making a statement of correctness, that's all.
Well, you have to be here all month. I can say all the way.
But you won't.
The health benefits. Yeah, the Board of Ed, I don't know if you know, the Board of Ed just left the New Jersey state health benefits. They just left and they went with a private firm, I don't recall what it was. Amerihealth, but anyway, but it was about 6 years ago, they actually left the private firms they were using and they went into the state health benefits. That was about 6 years ago, roughly. But anyway, the next year after they went into the state health, it jumped up like 10%. So I mean, it was like, I think no matter what you do when it comes to that.
Oh, that's why we're going to start the research.
Yeah. It's like you're going to get burned no matter what. It's sad. It's sad when it comes to health benefits. And I guess I'll leave this up for possibly Member Tedesco to bring it up. in discussion at the next meeting for the board, for the, I guess the streets and roads, if that's the one that handles the Hartman Park and the time capsule, because we had just talked about that.
Yes.
So I guess in discussion, we'll.
Buildings and grounds?
Trying to think.
Yeah, Hartman Park should be buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds, sure.
That's correct.
I can type something up,
Oh,
share it with you,
yes,
and
yes.
then send it to them.
Yeah, all right, but I mean, just bring it up in that committee report in discussion, sure.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, not yet,
I will-
that's just it, that's what I'm saying.
I will add it to my report.
Mr. Patterson, can you summarize?
Oh, I think that's about it. Okay, good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none this time, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Show to move on, council.
I personally do.
Thank you. Year 1975. Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Mayor Lombardo,
Here?
Councilman Kukrow,
Here.
Councilman Lazaro,
Here.
Councilman McCormick, Councilman Sorno,
Here.
Councilman Fitzgerald,
Here.
and Council President Blumenstock.
Yeah.
Ms. Ariano, minutes.
Regular workshop and executive minutes of the Mayor and Council held on February 13th, 2018.
Do you have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Communications, Ms. Ariano.
New Jersey State League of Municipalities Mayor's Advisory,
Receive and file.
Porter Valley Schools Authority minutes,
Receive and file.
and Town of Westfield ordinances.
Receive and file. On to ordinance for introduction. Ms. Ariano, please read bond ordinance 18-03 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. Bond ordinance to authorize the undertaking of structural stabilization project at the Michael R. Foley Recreation Building in, by, and for the Borough of Garwood and County of Union, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $50,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such funds.
Do you have a motion to introduce ordinance 1803?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Roll call, please, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Kukrow,
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro,
Aye.
Councilman McCormick,
Yes.
Councilman Sorno,
Aye.
Councilman Disco,
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Council standing committees, reports and other reports. Police, Councilman Sarno.
Thanks, Mayor. Regular office hours for residents and commuters in need of parking permits have been established on Tuesdays and Thursdays between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. To schedule an appointment with Parking Enforcement Officer Patterson, email him at j-patterson@garwood.org. The inaugural session of the Garwood Police Department Youth Academy has been scheduled for the week of August 20th through the 25th. The program is offered to youth in grades 6 through 8 of the 2018-2019 school year. Parents or guardians looking to enroll their children can contact Sergeant John Wright or Sergeant Philip Lewis for an application. And signs are in order for the new residential permit areas. Once they are in and installed, we will begin the phased-in period for parking enforcement of the areas. In addition to no parking signs, the department is also in the process of auditing all signage to replace worn and faded signs. With help from the DPW, we are replacing the faded flashing stop signs at Spruce and Center Street, and also at Pine Ave and East Street with more visible LED flashing lights. And I know the one on East and Pine is up.
Yes.
In my report.
So that's all from my report.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman. Public Health, Councilman McCormick.
At this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Streets and Roads Ecology, Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to regular garbage pickup, the DPW installed new basketball nets at the sports complex and performed sign maintenance and relocation in various areas of the borough. They also installed the LED flashing stop sign, as we just said, at Pine and East. The other sign will be installed this week, weather permitting. The DPW also assisted the electrician with the new light installation along North Avenue that was damaged by a motor vehicle accident. Winter pothole repairs were performed at Spruce Avenue, Cedar Street, and Hickory Avenue, and shade tree pruning and elevating was done on the 200, 300, and 400 blocks of Beach Avenue. Public Works employees worked a total of 22.5 man-hours of time and a half and 24.5 hours of double time for snow removal on February 17th and February 18th. And that's all from my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Fire, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mayor. Although I don't have an official report from the fire department, I would like to take this time to let everybody know that the council, mayor, and administration attended a retirement dinner for a fireman. And I must tell you, maybe that's why I lost my voice, but we all had a grand time.
Yes.
It was an experience. It was very, very nice to see us all get together and especially sit at one table. It was a grand thing, so I just want to let everybody know it was a good time. Thank you.
Thank you for your positive comments. And also to, not only with the local dignitaries here, but many fire chiefs from Union County on behalf of former Chief Spina. Finance, Councilwoman Tedesco.
Thank you, Mayor. While I gave a lot of it away at workshop, I just want to say that the Finance Committee has met twice since our last council meeting as it continues to work on compiling the 2018 budget. And even though there were 2 meetings, each went for at least 3.5 hours. And we will be meeting again twice this week, so rest assured we're hard at work. And that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Buildings and Grounds, Councilman Mazza.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Freeholders meeting on Thursday, February 15th, and was fortunate enough to be able to speak during public comment on passing the level of the playing field ordinance. They unanimously passed the ordinance, which should provide Garwood hopefully with up to $20,000 towards the cost of the Hartman Park. We're just waiting for official confirmation of that. If the council passes a resolution to award the contract to MRC Game Time, I will provide a more detailed timeline for the completion of the project at the next council meeting. However, just to review, I would like to encourage the council to vote for this resolution, as the county is likely going to be paying for nearly 60% of the total costs when factoring in both grants, and the benefits to our special needs children as well as the town would be tremendous. I asked our clerk to provide a copy of the proposed plan, which you guys have a copy of it. It's the sheet in front of you, which is the updated version of what's going to be in the park. And there's a couple extra copies also on the table for those residents that want to take a look at that. In terms of the actual proposed plan, it includes a sensory tunnel and other special needs equipment designed to encourage inclusion of all children. Also, the equipment includes ADA compliant pieces that allow those with physical handicaps to utilize many of the features of the playground. I also had a resident ask about the general timeline of events that led to this point. Initially, we aimed for $110,000 total cost, but added the sensory tunnel after learning about the level of the playing field grant to get a grand total of $131,127.52, with the county matching $55,000 and what looks to be about a $20,000 level of playing field grant. The borough would be paying about $56,127.52 for the total project. Due to this investment, I intend on holding a meeting with the Buildings and Grounds Committee along with the foreman and superintendent of the DPW to design a plan for seasonal maintenance reports that will ensure that the investment will last a very long time. On the rec complex building, Falcon Group, the borough's hired architect and inspector, determined that there was more damage at our last meeting. I just wanted to update for those residents who weren't here for that last meeting. That there was more damage to the recreation complex building when the door was removed by the hired contractor, Patagonia Roofing. Falcon found construction defects in which parts of the building were not sufficiently waterproof, leading to severe structural degradation. To restore the structural integrity of the building, Falcon was able to negotiate on the borough's behalf from an original quote of $81,000 to $69,000. This would be in addition to the $47,000 the borough already approved for repairing the defective door and areas where water could be seen infiltrating the building. The total cost paid to the contractor would be $116,000, and as we just passed in the introduction of the ordinance, required the council to amend the original rec complex bond for an additional $50,000, which we all just passed unanimously. These would cover the costs as well as the monies required to pay for the oversight of Falcon to make sure everything is properly installed. As a result of the complex being closed for close to a year, the council unanimously voted to place, as we said, an ordinance to amend the bond. Due to the time that it takes, obviously, to have posted that hearing for amending the bond, as well as the time it takes to secure it, the likely timeline is for Patagonia to start construction in early April, and they have given us a time frame of of no more than 45 days until completion. This would ideally make the reopening of the complex take place in mid to late May. Right now, due to these costs, the council is considering the possibility of pursuing litigation to recoup the costs of the damages against the responsible parties involved in the original construction of the complex. While I'm extremely frustrated by the length of time and cost this project has taken, I'm committed as chair of the Building and Grounds Committee to make sure that this repair is done correctly, and I appreciate that the building closure and repair does not directly impact the use or rental of the fields themselves. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Laws and License, Councilman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. Laws and License Committee made a unanimous decision to bring forward 2 ordinances at the upcoming council meeting. We had another discussion with Bob today just to confirm the wording to make sure we finally got it right. Laws and License has been working on the property maintenance code and the fence ordinance for corner properties for almost 2 years. The fence ordinance is to give back the rights to corner property owners for a 6-foot fence, either open or closed, provided they meet the proper setbacks. Everyone deserves the right to use their property as a tax-paying resident of the community and not be penalized simply because they live on a corner. This will amend subsection H in 106-118, fences and walls, in Chapter 106, Land Use of the Code of the Borough of Garwood, to amend restrictions on fences on corner properties. The Property Maintenance Code, an ordinance of the Borough of Garwood repealing Article
5.
Oh, 5. I can't even see. Property maintenance in Chapter 67, Buildings and Grounds of the Code of the Borough of Garwood, and enacting a new Article 5, Property Maintenance in Chapter 67, Buildings and Structures, by adopting with certain revisions the 2015 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code, regulating and governing the conditions and maintenance of all property, buildings, and structures. This basically updates the BOCA code with the International Property Maintenance Code with some modifications to the International Property Maintenance Code. Council will receive a draft of both ordinances in the packet to review so it can be discussed at the next council meeting. Excuse me. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Recreation, Councilman Lazaro.
No report, but as mentioned, we are going to be meeting early next week.
Thank you very much. Norwich Senior Citizen Liaison, Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. Our last meeting was on February 15th. We had a guest speaker from Clear Captions. This is a federally funded program that will provide free closed caption phones to those with hearing problems. You get an audio and visual cue that a call is coming in, and the call is transcribed on the phone screen. Anyone with internet, a landline, and hearing deficiency is eligible. I was also able to hand out the Valentine crafts and cards from Lincoln School's Mustangs Works of Hearts Club, as we saw honored earlier tonight. They were very much appreciated. Also, our baking experiment, where each table brought in some baked goods for our dessert, was a hit. So our next meeting is March 1st, and that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Libraries Mayor Representative, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. On February 15th, the Garwood Public Library presented a performance of the oldies band Rewind. More than 40 people enjoyed a great night of music, and there was even some dancing. Check out the pictures on the library Facebook page. 2 new social studies databases have been added to the library's website. The first is Pebble Go, a database geared towards the needs of K-2 learners. It helps students learn foundational research skills, plus providing critical early reader supports like audio voiceovers and text highlighting. The second is Pebble Go Next, a comprehensive digital resource tailored to meet the needs and curriculum of grades 3 to 5 learners. Both Pebble Go and Pebble Go Next can be accessed 24/7 from home, school, or on the go, anywhere there is an internet connection. Students and teachers should contact the Garwood Public Library for login and password information. And a reminder of the library's regular programs include the Knitting Club every Monday and Thursday at 10:30 a.m., Kids Chess Mondays in March at 3 p.m., Book Clubs Monday, March 26th at 1 p.m., Design at STEM every Tuesday at 3 through March, Storytime every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., Kids Craft Wednesday, March 21st at 3 p.m., Lego Club March 8th and 22nd at 3 p.m., Movie Time every Friday at 10 a.m. The Garwood Library is open Monday through Thursday from 9 to 8, Fridays from 9 to 4:30, and Saturdays from 9 to 1. The library will be closed Friday and Saturday, March 30th and 31st. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. School Board Liaison, Councilman McCormick.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. The Board of Education meeting. The Board of Ed will begin discussing the budget process in the next few weeks, and the public hearing will be held on May 1st. Also, 31 hardworking students, 80 honor roll for the second marking period. Students from the Pet Club were presented and promoted positive actions of their peers and are looking forward to continue their success in the upcoming year. Again, I apologize for my voice. There was approval for 2 school clubs, the Pay It Forward Club and the Backstage Club. One teacher expressed her displeasure in her new healthcare carrier. On Thursday, March 8th, the 8th class will host a bingo night at the Polish Cultural Foundation located at 177 Broadway in Clark. The fundraiser is to assist with a Gettysburg trip. Tickets start at $35 for 10 games. The doors open at 6:30 p.m. and will start at 7:30 p.m. Also, kindergarten parents are welcome on March 15th for tea with the superintendent. Educator of the Year votes are due by March 1st. The winner will be celebrated at the EFG dinner in April. Decisions still have not been made on the Hardman Park or on the gym floor. Superintendent Quigley addressed an email and sent earlier to discuss with the parents about the safety of the school. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Celebration of Public Events and Holidays Liaison, Councilwoman Kugura.
Thank you, Mayor. Celebrations discuss the upcoming event for the Easter egg hunt. The date is Saturday, March 17th, 2018 at noon. Rain date is March 24th. Setup for the committee starts at 10. Tina, can you please put the event on the marquee outside if you haven't done that already? Also, part of the discussions were how many gifts will be required for the different age groups, candy to fill the eggs, the DJ, and raffles to be given out for a shot to win a gift. They wanted me to remind the mayor about his basket donation and making a statement.
The basket has already been purchased.
Okay. The next meeting will be on March 14th at 7 o'clock for the committee to wrap the gifts. Also getting a head start on the Memorial Day event on May 28th at the Knights of Columbus. The mayor is working on getting a veteran to speak.
Well, I'll just say that I am trying to get a veteran to speak, but you have to realize it's very difficult sometimes. These great men and women of our country have served, but they don't like to talk about it. I'm going to try my best. I won't say I'm not done.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. And also, too, my mayor's message will be available that day.
I'm sorry?
My mayor's message will be available.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on, Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board Representative, Councilman McCormick.
I have no report, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Special Review Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor?
Historical Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Historical Committee met last night, and it was another very productive meeting. The committee discussed the facade of the castle or Gothic part of the Aeolian building, also known as the paperboard, and felt preserving it should be a top priority for Garwood. The first ever Historical Committee newsletter has been printed and will be delivered by volunteers in the coming weeks to all the homes in town as a way of furthering one of the missions of the committee, which is to educate the public about Garwood's rich history, and it will also serve to explain what the Historical Committee has been active in. The group looks to make this a biannual publication. And thanks to its newest member, Chelsea Brandt, the committee is preparing to launch a website this year, which will be a terrific online archive of Garwood's historical materials. Also, the committee is continuing to plan its booth at the upcoming Garwood Rock Street Fair in June. Per the president of the Historical Committee speaking earlier, Mr. Bruce Patterson, about the time capsule idea. This was something that was kicked around back in around 2003 with the Centennial Committee that was active at the time, and then they had the idea of doing a time capsule in Garwood, but it really just never came to fruition. So here we are on the 115th anniversary of Garwood, and Mr. Patterson brought up the idea of the time capsule. The committee loved it, and we're thinking right now that Hartman Park might be a good place for it. It might be difficult to get it in time with the construction, but even if it took place later on this year, maybe that would be a great place for it. We were thinking there's a really large rock there, maybe underneath that, maybe we can eventually add a plaque to that folder. It could be a really good location, and if I can pass this along to the Buildings and Grounds Committee to review, and we can move forward. The last thing I just want to say is that certainly other events and fundraising ideas were discussed, and of course, as always, I'll be happy to promote them at future council meetings. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Parking Committee, Councilman Sano.
No report.
Thank you. Ms. Ariema, officers' reports.
Municipal Court Administrator LaShawn Duran, monthly report for January 2018. Chief of Police James H. Wright, monthly report for January 2018. Treasurer CFO Sandy Runs, 2017 fourth quarter reports.
Do I have a motion to accept the officers' reports?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to public comment. Anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone, state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Matthew, 335 Hazel Avenue. I just want to follow up on something I was surprised was not included in the Laws and License Committee report. Resident Bruce Patterson brought up the appointment of Senator Scutari's former chief of staff to a county position. And both Councilwomen Kukrow and Tedisco said they would take it to the Laws and License Committee. So I wanted to know what happened for that. Secondly, Councilwoman Tedisco expressed her disappointment with the appointment of Mr. Oatman, I believe. And I just want to find out exactly what your disappointment was, because President Bruce Patterson was alleging that there was some corruption behind that, and that Mr. Oatman was not qualified for the position he got. So, and it sounded like you were agreeing with him. So I just wanted to know what the nature of your disappointment was, or what the nature was of the discussion at the Laws and License meeting. Actually, what was it that we were going to discuss at the Laws and License meeting? I was kind of surprised that it was going to go to a committee. Committee for what exactly? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll answer a part of it anyway. We didn't have a Laws and License meeting since the last council meeting. Basically, we were taking care of these other 2 ordinances to get them out of the way. So at our next council meeting, I'm happy to discuss corruption in our government.
And do you have a part of my question, your disappointment as to his appointment of Mr. Oatman?
Certainly, I've been reading the articles and hearing some concerns from citizens like Mr. Patterson about that appointment, and I would like to do some further research. And I appreciate having the committee with me to do that, and I'm ready to speak up on it, depending on how our findings go. So certainly, it's important. It's the county manager position after all.
And just out of curiosity, Councilwoman Tedisco, do you express your disappointment to now County Chairman Scutari?
Do I express it?
Did you express it to him personally, like in a letter, correspondence, in person?
I have not spoken with Senator Scutari, period.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time?
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Council Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. A couple of questions. First one, to Councilor Kukrow, how many A's are
There's like 1,500. I don't know, but I'm going to be over there dropping them all over the place.
1,500, okay.
At least.
It's been pretty steady at that number. Another one to Councilor Lazaro. And I'm not really admonishing you, but you mentioned, you said the county pays for 60% of Hartney Park. It's not the county that's paying. The county has no money. We have the money, all of us, the taxpayers. You know, all the county's doing is taking our money and giving it back to us. So.
I say tomato, you say tomato.
So I mean, when I hear statements like that, I kind of like, the hairs on the back of my neck listen. And long time attendees of this meeting. Obviously you, Mayor, Tina, you, Bob, or not. And Leonard used to come here a lot, and she seemed to be the property maintenance representative. Well, I now appoint Al Belconte because it seems like the hat is being passed to him as the property maintenance representative. So thank you, Al, for bringing it up and picking up the comment of Ann Leonard. She's doing okay.
Point well taken.
Yeah, it opened. We'll jump over that one. There was That's right. The last meeting, I did bring up that I've been following this Scutari versus Marr County Democrat chair battle, let's see, and it's 7-4 Scutari, obviously. So, but I mean, I did bring up that one question about why our attorney got a letter from Marr, and he was wondering about that himself. Well, anyway, as it further went on, you know, I recognized from whatever correspondence and discussions, but anyway, our borough attorney actually represents the county Democrat Party, you know, and I'm sure Mr. Arnaud will agree. And to me, that seems like there's a conflict of interest. If he's representing the county Democrat Party, and he's also representing our council, which is comprised of Democrats and Republicans, there seems to be a bias built in here as to. No, I'm bringing this up. This is a serious issue.
No,
you can't gavel that.
Good point.
Yeah, why would you gavel that, by the way?
The man has different positions in life. He represents this council over the last 30 years, and he's not biased, or he doesn't tend either way. He's truthful in every situation.
And I like the guy, and I discussed with him. I mean, yes, you know, we had a little turbulence back with the previous mayor McCarthy, right? I'm sure you remember that one, Bob. But you know, we kind of discussed things. But I mean, it's just that there seems to be these conflicts of interest, and this one I'm just bringing up. But there's a lot of others, and I'm not even going to mention them. But it's just that the government, and that goes back to this Oatman Scutari thing. But you know, the government is being overrun by bad politics, conflict of interest, that, you know, anything that kind of smells wrong should be considered to be wrong and not done. And just as an example, I know you gavelled me for this issue, but just as an example, about, I guess it was back in January, there was I guess it was a deed restriction ordinance that came, and 3 Democrats voted yes, and the 3 Republicans either recused or abstained, and for some reason, even though the majority was not voted approval, that Attorney Renaud actually said it was approved. You know, maybe he can explain further as to what that was about, because I went away scratching my head saying, well, I don't know if it was politics or not, but you know, I just kind of scratched my head and went on my merry business, but now I'm standing here with this issue about a conflict of interest, and possibly there's a bias in that vote, because to me, the 3 yeses and the 3 abstentions or recusal, whatever they were, is not the majority, and it has to be a majority vote yes for approval, and it wasn't. 3 out of 6, not the majority. So I'm positive. If anything, I guess I would like to hear what the answer as to why that came about, and that it was approved. And again, my concern about bad politics is, you've been listening to me for many years about it, and obviously it just doesn't stop, so. Okay, thank you very much, and you're listening to me on a couple of the issues.
Perfect timing.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Al Del Conte, 545 Locust Avenue. My memory was jarred. I remember what I forgot. Center Street, in front of 401 Center and Spruce. I brought up maybe a meeting or 2 ago about the condition of the road with the potholes. That road was just repaved a 1.5 years ago. Is there any word on where we're going with that repair?
Is that being taken care of because of the water?
It will be eventually taken care of with the water issue, but I'll look into talking to our superintendent about some repairing of potholes.
Well, the DPW has put some blacktop in it, but it's a road failure, and that road was repaved a 1.5 years ago. So I do remember complaining about some road work in the past, and I believe we get a 5-year, we get nothing.
Maintenance bonds for you. Maintenance bonds.
But yes, we have a 5-year moratorium on going in on a new road. But, once again, if there's an emergency or something that has to be connected, you're gonna do it, hopefully they'll do a better job.
Well, it's just major, it's major failure. It's major failure, and the road was just redone. So I find that hard to believe that you get major road work and you only get 1 year on it. But if that's what it is, then so be it. On another concern, or another issue, I'm happy to see that as far as the work at the athletic field complex moving forward, that we have supervision in place for that. You know that I'm always complaining about things being supervised, and I like seeing that being done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor, just to follow up, it was the January 9th agenda, and this is about the vote. It's a question of the vote that possibly you can have an attorney, borough attorney, or not, explain a little further. But it was in the consent agenda. It was an 18038. It was about a deed restriction being removed. It was a resolution. And Councilwoman Eileen Kukrow abstained. Councilwoman Richard McCormick and Councilman Joe Sarno abstained. And oddly enough, these are 3 Republicans. That's what I was bringing up. And then the 3 Democrats had voted yes. And Bob Renaud said it carried. And he commented, it's not like I wrote word for word, but he commented about the abstention votes. And something about an expression of dissent. So possibly, could this be explained a little more in depth? Is that possible?
Give it a try, let's see.
Well, there are 3 yeses, 3 abstains.
It was a resolution.
And there's a resolution.
Right. So that's basically the answer, is it's not a tie because the abstentions are not negative. So a resolution can pass by a majority of those present and voted. Only 3 people were voted. To tell you the truth, I'd like to look back and see before I give what my thoughts on it were, but that's what my thoughts were. See, the problem is it's very unclear what abstentions mean. There was a recent case called, when I say recent, I'm talking about the last several years, called, it was a Booker versus somebody or other involved, and there's also a Hoboken case. The 2 of them involved